Hey guys, this is Justin at the Survivor Review, and today I have my top 10 favorite movies of 2012. Now I know this video is coming a little bit later, but it was kind of, I had to think for a while for a lot of these movies because I had a giant list, but I didn't know where to place them, but I finally got a list set. And so, yeah, 2012 was a great year for movies. There's a lot of great movies out. So this was a hard list to put together, and just saying I haven't seen. I actually don't see a lot of movies in theaters. This may surprise you because I'm a big movie guy. So I did see a lot this year, but there's a few that won't be on this list. Not because I don't like them or anything, but it's probably because I haven't seen them. Like the big movie, the one that everybody's talking about, Lincoln. I have not seen that yet, so that's not going to be on this list. That and Zero Dark 30 are probably the two biggest ones. I haven't seen those two, so those won't be anywhere on this list. But it's not because I don't like them, just because I never saw them. So okay, let's get this started. Number 10. Okay, this was a movie that a lot of people were divided over. A lot of people didn't like it, and it had a lot of questions that were unanswered. And I think that's why a lot of people didn't like it. Prometheus. And this is a movie I enjoyed a lot. Now, it wasn't as amazing as I was expecting it to be, but something I really enjoy. Like, they don't make these big epic sci-fi movies anymore these days. Something that's supposed to be like a big, almost like adventure kind of sci-fi film. They don't make these anymore nowadays, and that was so cool to see a new one on the big screen. And to see Ridley Scott go back to sci-fi was great. And yeah, it didn't answer a lot of questions, but for the most part, it was entertaining. It was really cool to see like the engineers, the thing that was in the first Alien, to see that, and it was all around a fun movie. And like I said, yeah, I didn't like how it didn't answer a few questions, but for the most part, I really liked this movie, and it's a fun sci-fi movie, and I really like it. Number 9. Number 9 is a horror movie that was a surprising horror movie, and that is Cabin in the Woods. It was such an original horror film that I didn't go in with much expectations, but it's a great play on horror films and a great like deconstruction of like the cliches and stuff, almost like Scream. It's kind of like that, it's a little more like tongue in cheek, a little more fun, and by the end, totally like not horror, just kind of the ending is just all out chaos, and that's such a fun ending. I won't spoil it for you, but it's definitely a really great, definitely really fun movie, and especially if you're a horror fan, it's definitely worth checking out. Number 8. This is a movie that in normal circumstances, I thought would have been really much higher up in the list, because there's another movie I loved, but since there were so many other really great ones, I had to put this a little bit lower. Now, a little bit lower than I expected, and that is The Avengers. Wow, 4 years in the making, and they did it perfectly. Like, all the build-up, all the connection between every movie built up to this, and this movie could totally have failed, which luckily it didn't, because it's a perfect fun comic movie, the complete opposite of like Dark Knight Rises and stuff like that, where you're trying to have like a real serious movie. This is kind of just the fun version, and every character gets their moment, which is great. Every character actually felt like a developed character, which I thought was really good. Like even the character of Hawkeye, which spent the whole first half of the movie under the bad guy's control, like bad guy's like spell. And even him, by the end, I still knew his character without him as a really great character. So really well written, fun movie, definitely worth it. Definitely not a disappointment in any way. So that was a great one. Number 7. Number 7 was a movie that came out actually in last January, and the premise sounded cool, but you expected it to not really be much, but it surprisingly was more than it was, and that is The Grey. Which you first think about, it's just, oh, it's a movie with Liam Neeson in Alaska fighting wolves, but there was a lot more to it than that. There was a lot of character development, which I thought was really cool. All the characters were good, and the ending I loved. At first, when I first saw that ending, I was kind of like, oh, that's it. But as I thought back on it, it's the perfect ending for this type of movie. For just a typical action movie, that ending wouldn't work. But I just thought it was such an interesting movie. They got the perfect feel of like isolation or of like the cold. Like when you were watching those scenes, you felt cold and that and Antarctica. So that it was really well done movie. Surprising movie for the beginning of 2012 to actually be on this top list, and definitely worth checking out if you haven't. Number 6. Number 6 is probably one of the most original sci-fi movie to come out this year, and that is Looper. It's a movie that there was so much more to it than you thought. Like the trailers just gave away that like, oh, you know, old Bruce Willis comes back in time and young Bruce Willis has to hunt him down, and that's it. But there's so much more to it. There's a very Terminator-esque plot in there, and that was really well handled. It's a movie that actually, at first, when I first saw it, I didn't think it was as great as everybody was praising. But once you start, like, thinking about it, and, like, discussing it in your head, like, oh, well, this and that, like, the way that did that, and you're just, yeah, I really like this movie. Like, you just start to think about it. And there's a lot of good slow scenes. Like, the movie's not a complete action-packed movie. And Bruce Willis gives a great performance, whereas he's been kind of, I feel, slacking a little bit in some of his later movies. And kind of Die Hard 4 a little bit was kind of like that. But this one, he's back. Great performance. All around, like I said, one of the most original sci-fi movies. Well, it is the most original sci-fi movie of this year. Number 5 was another movie that really didn't have much anticipation or hype behind, but was pleasantly surprised. And that's Dredd. Wow, it's such a great action film. And it's a quick 90 minutes, but it was just done so well. Like, with such a simple plot of them being stuck in the giant building, having to fight their way to the bad guy, it was just so well. Dredd is such a great character. And Carl Urban kills as Dredd. Like, he is Dredd. His performance was great. And great action. I loved the John Carpenter feel to it, because I'm a huge John Carpenter fan. Kind of had that, like, John Carpenter feel of, like, isolation and stuff like that, which was done really well. Such a surprising movie, and such a sad thing that it didn't do that well at the box office, because I really hope it gets a sequel, because it deserves it, and I really want to see more adventures of Judge Dredd. Number 4. Another movie that's been getting a lot of buzz, and all the buzz is generally, it's deserving of it, and that is Argo. A great thriller, directed by Ben Affleck, who is a great director. Yeah, people criticize his acting and stuff like that, and I, for the most part, think he's an alright actor. He's much better in his movies. Like in The Town, which he also directed, he was pretty good in that. I think a little bit better in Argo. So he's good at some points, but his direction is great, and this is one of the best thrillers. Like, I don't usually like get really too into stuff, but I was on the edge of my seat this whole time, thinking like, are they gonna get out? And it was intense. The whole ending of that movie is so intense, and it is based off a true story. And if you're planning on seeing the movie, and you don't know anything about the story, don't look it up, because the plot, has him going into Iran to rescue these 6 hostages and stuff like that. And don't read it, because you don't want to know right away if they like make it or not, or if they do, or if some people die along the way, because then that would ruin the suspense. And the suspense is so like incredible in this movie, and if you already know about it, it will be a little less suspenseful. But man, this is such a great thriller, great acting. They found a great way to balance the like really kind of dark and serious situation with some comedy, where the comedy doesn't feel forced and everything. And yeah, Ben Affleck was totally snubbed at the Oscars for not Best Director, but he won the Golden Globe, and that was awesome. Okay, number 3. I did review this earlier, probably more recently. It's Quentin Tarantino's new epic, Django Unchained. This is another movie that, kind of like Looper, where I first saw it and I thought it was really good, but not like great, not as great as some of his other movies. But it's one of those, once you start thinking about it and start thinking about like the scenes and the dialogue, you're just like, yeah, this is a great movie. And it's such a well done, fun Western, Quentin Tarantino style, that it's going to be good if it's Tarantino is involved. So, definitely a fun movie. Christoph Waltz is great. He's the best performance. Other performances are great. Just an all-around awesome movie. Number 2. This is a movie in a franchise that franchise that I love, and it's the 50th anniversary of that franchise. And this movie is the perfect anniversary film, and that is Skyfall. Wow, like, you know, when Casino Royale came out, that was such a great film, and then Quantum of Solace came out and really brought the bar down. This brings the bar back up, and almost exceeding Casino. Casino Royale and Skyfall are around the same. I can't pick which one's better. They're both great films. Great balance of, like, the classical fun Bond and the real serious Casino Royale Bond. That was done perfectly. The villain was great. Judi Dench as M, great performance. Just an all-around great thriller, too. And just, wow, they knocked it out of the park with this Bond film. And I don't know how they're going to do it better and do another one. It's going to be hard, but definitely, I love that movie. It has to do also because of the fact that I'm a huge Bond fan. And all the subtle references throughout to other Bond films were good. They weren't overdone. And it's just such a fun movie. I love that movie. Number 1. Now this is a movie that had a ton of hype. Like, the hype was, like, impossible. It was insane, the hype for this movie. And to a lot of people, it did disappoint. But a lot of people liked it. And I have to admit, some people may completely disagree with me on this, and I will understand why. I will, but I still like it. And that is The Dark Knight Rises. And this was a superb end to Christopher Nolan's trilogy. And I think it's better than Dark Knight. But I know a lot of people will completely disagree with me on that. But I think it's better than Dark Knight. And I understand people's, like, plot issues with it. Like, I have a few couple problems, but I felt there were so many more, like, brilliant, great film, like, great scenes in that movie that I won't tell them right now because that'll be spoilers, but, like, all the fight scenes between Batman and Bane are so well done, and there's so many just, like I said, great scenes that whenever I think back on the movie, I don't think about the problems, like, oh, the plot convenient leg brace, or this, and that, or how did Bruce get to Gotham at the end. I'm just thinking about how epic those moments are. I think I liked it better because I was much more emotionally involved. And there's so many scenes, like, with Batman and the pit and stuff, where I was just so, like, emotionally involved, and I was so, like, more caring for these characters that I just thought it was so well done. Like, I'm not, like, a Nolanite or anything, or people, you know, I'm not, no matter what Christopher Nolan does, it's good. I'm not like that. But I just thought this movie was amazing, and I really liked it. So, I'd say, yeah, Dark Knight Rises, great. Also, it helps that I'm a big Batman fan, too. So, it is my favorite superhero done in a great film. And yeah, that's my top 10. Great year for movies. Superb. And hopefully next year will be just as good. Because there's a few movies there that I'm definitely looking forward to next year. And yeah, that's about it. Talk to you guys later.